All right, we are here once again Thursday night, 6 p.m. to about 15, 20 minutes to discuss some topics, but tonight we're going to discuss the um, emotions of an adult child who is either taking care of a parent or has had um, a parent, in a situation and things like that. And so do they feel, and some of the emotions are if something happens and they weren't there, they feel guilty. um, they may feel stressed out. um, Emotions, run wild, but you just kind of have to remember that it's life, unfortunately. um, you have your own life to run. If you have a family, you have kids, you have a job. If you own your own business, it's probably even harder because you need to be there, depending on the business. And sometimes you can't call every day, sometimes you can't be there all the time. And you know other ways they feel is sometimes they're too involved. You can never be too involved. All right, that is just you know false thinking. As your parents age, their 70s, their 80s, their 90s, you can never be there too much. um, because if you're there a lot, if you're with them a lot or talk to them a lot or see them a lot, you will be able to see the changes. Maybe get ahead of something before it gets too worse. Prepare yourself, prepare your family, your siblings, that something is amiss, or you know something is gonna something's happening. um, and if you can't be there the whole time, you know just try to make the 1 day phone call. um, if it pops into your mind that you have to make the call, stop doing what you're doing, make that call. um, for myself, it was, um, got a call, got to be 9, 10 o'clock at night, like totally working a lot. I'll call tomorrow. And next day, same thing. And I'll call tomorrow. And the next day, and it was like, nope, got a call. And luckily I did. Um, Outcome could have been a lot better if I'd called 2 or 3 days earlier, but you know, again, life happens. Something I've been kind of, still dealing with and struggling with sometimes. I was to say, if I just taken it 2 minutes more, or just made that call that night, or whatever, um, maybe it would have been different. Who knows? Maybe it wouldn't have. But you can't beat yourselves up for that anymore. You just have to, move on and just do what's best. Um, you know, Exhaustion comes into play if you're watching them constantly and or worrying about them constantly. Um, they've they've gone through life, you know, all I don't want to say alone, but they've gone through life with themselves, their partner, their wife, their husband, and they're doing their thing. So if you're there and the exhaustion hits in, it's only natural. Um, just tomorrow there is going to be a full form, probably 8 to 10 minute, really diving into that topic, and role reversal. Um, so check those out. If you do happen to see this before the 12th of December, check those videos out. They're coming up in this week and next week and the following week. But yeah, I kind of have my notes written here and they're scribbled out so bad that I just can't even read them out. But I think the big takeaway for the emotions in adult children is the guilty part. You know, you feel guilty when you're there too much sometimes. You feel guilty when you're not there enough. And you just have to know that what you're doing is probably the best that you can do. If you're there, if you talk to them every day on the phone, then great. If you talk to them every other day or every 3 days, great. You are able to go to their house and see them every day, even better. You know, for my mother and I, there was COVID, and you know, how many times once a day can you call somebody and say, well, what'd you do today? Well, I watched TV because there's nothing else to do. Everything is closed. Can't go shopping. Can't go here. Can't go there. And the calls went from, you know, once a day or twice, you know, every other day to 3 days or 4 days. And, you know, the last conversation was on, I think, a Friday or a Saturday. And it was like 3 or 4 days later. And I was like, okay, you know, and it should have been much sooner. But you know, the wife says to me, she's like, you could have called her on Sunday and talked to her and waited another 3 or 4 days later, or maybe even a week, and same situation, same outcome, possibly. So don't beat yourselves up for being there. Don't beat yourselves up for not being there. The other thing to remember is your parents probably, more than likely, will always tell you they're fine. They don't want you to worry. They don't want you to stress. They want to live their life, live their freedom. And if they feel that they pour something out to you, or they're honest to you about something, that their life may change, that life will become difficult, they're going to lose their time, their freedom, they're not going to be able to go and spend time with their friends, or they're going to be locked up in a room somewhere, or all of these thoughts for the older generation starts running rampant. They won't be able to drive, they won't be able to go shopping, they won't be able to go to the local restaurant or the local bar and hang out or do anything. And some of them shut down and don't want to talk about it. All right. And if you're around and you're seeing things, you can subtly bring them up. You can subtly just, you know, mention it in conversation. You can talk to your siblings, like I said earlier before, just if you're there and talking to them, you know, it's more about the guilt for an adult child as to, I could have did more, or I was too overbearing. And the honest answer is, whichever works best for you is the best you could have done. So just remember that. So we're going to kill this stream in about 10 minutes at the 10-minute mark. But just remember, these table talk videos, they are here to help other families. So if you watch any of the long forms and something strikes you, leave a comment and help out some others.